in terms of actually realizing the work, what were the technical challenges that you faced as a maker? From actually capturing what you wanted and then how to make the prints work
Mhm.
to convey the sense that you were after.
Yeah, the technical challenge, the first and foremost was the lighting aspect. So truth be told, and maybe perhaps a little vulnerability here, I've never had any formal training with lighting, with photographic lighting, like in a studio setting type of thing. So when I started this project, it was in my empty apartment in Rochester. I had no furniture in my living room. And and I was sitting in the dark, I was like, and then I thought to myself, oh, well, what happens if I just start taking some pictures? So I had a off-camera flash that I used. And then, being at Rochester Institute of Technology, they have great facilities there. So, I was encouraged to use the studios. So I just went in there and started to play with, how to position the light and the power levels and things like that to get the effect to where I didn't want it to be like properly exposed. I still want it to be slightly underexposed, but like how do you balance this stark black, dark space in the studio where it was pitch black in there, moving around in the space and then having these pops of flashes that's not going to blind me, and that's also going to be photographically balanced, for the type of work that I wanted to do. So that was one thing is just playing with lighting and things of that nature. And then the other aspect was the post processing. Um, because most people don't know this, but these images, the majority of them are technically composites or they've been digitally manipulated. Um, so, for example, there's one of me laying down, and you can kind of see some water over my chest. So that's me laying in my bathroom in my tub. Um, so, like trying to creatively problem solve, how do I erase these elements of the real world, and allow my body to sit within blackness? So that posed some challenges here and there, depending on what existed within the frame at the time. The printing process. I knew while making the images that I didn't want them to be this like traditional, well lit image, and I wanted the print, the physical object, to represent that in the best way possible. So I started to experiment with different papers, luster paper, matte papers, you name it, and then seeing that how the ink sits within the fibers of matte paper was chef's kiss, and trying to figure out the balance between working with an illuminated screen and how bright the images appeared there, and then the translation of that information into a non-illuminated pigmented print was definitely difficult. Many of images where I'm having to calibrate the different levels, midtones, highlights, shadows, darks, whites, um, to, achieve an image where you can still see something and it's not completely black, but you still also have a range of tonality. Um, that creates that magic of depth and dimension in the work. And then also like sending it to certain printers, they always want to initially recalibrate the image to brighten it up. And I always have to tell them that it's intentionally made to be dark. So don't do that. Um, so yeah, so technical challenges were lighting, figuring out, erasing elements of the real world, when they were present, and then figuring out the proper tonality for the prints. But yeah, it's all come together in beautiful ways.